Now, last fall, when the new tiers program rolled out, 5,555 Floridians with developmental disabilities and their families appealed, sending the spending cuts or other changes to the services they received through the waiver. The Agency for Persons with Disabilities granted formal hearings to only 771 of those cases so far. Only one family has prevailed in its case that I know of. So many people say they are now suffering with all the cuts, and now September 1st, 2009 is the effective date that APD will enforce cost plan adjustments on people whose requests for fair hearing were denied by the agency. This means that the waiver recipients will move from to be determined to the assigned tier on September 1st. Many people are not happy, about when this is going to happen. Can you tell me your thoughts on this, and if or how you think this will affect Floridians with developmental disabilities?
Well, the of the 5,500 people who appeal, keep in mind roughly half of those people would not be adversely affected by their tier assignment. In other words, their current expenditures were less than their tier cap. These were people who, for one reason or the other, decided to appeal the tier assignment anyway. The others will, of course, experience a service reduction. Just like, and keep in mind, there were over 7,000 people who were going to receive an immediate service reduction. Almost 5,000 of those people actually are living within that reduced level of service. So the ones who are they're going to have an experience which will be much like the 5,000 who went before them. I mean, this is the law. And I do want to make that clear, is that this is a requirement of the legislature. It was passed in the 2007 session. We're about to go into 2010. And, anecdotally, the kinds of things we've heard is that it forces people in some instances to make very tough decisions as to what meaningful day activity can they live without. I mean, it is forcing some hard choices, but it is a matter of law. It's not the agency's position that we needed to do this, but the legislature said to do it. The tiers do have the impact, and so far has had the impact of holding down some of these cost increases, which were really leading to a situation to where all of the new money the legislature was giving us each year went to serve the existing enrollees as that wait list continues to grow on a daily basis. So if there's a beneficial impact of this whole thing, it's that financial stability that hopefully will get into a posture where new money in the future can be used to take people off that waiting list. Now, we're also looking, and we have been mandated by the legislature, and I think this is very exciting and positive, because it addresses that goal of financial stability in some ways that I think are more consumer friendly. And that's a plan for us to develop individual budgets and an individual budget process. Now, I don't want to give the impression that individual budgets lead to utopia, or that every conceivable need or want is met, but individual budgets do allow an equitable way to allocate the resources that you do have available in a program, so that if cutbacks are necessary, it can be done evenly across the board, rather than what we had with tiers, where 7,000 of our 31,000 people took the hit for everybody.
Right.
So a quarter, roughly, of the people we serve in that waiver took the entire brunt of that reduction. Under an individual budget scenario, if such adjustments were to become necessary, you would have a much more equitable. So chances that you wouldn't have a consumer taking a 60% cut in their cost plan. under that approach. It would be much more manageable and much more predictable, both for financial management on the state side and for planning your life on the consumer and even on the provider side.
Individual budgeting, someday could actually replace the tiers.
I believe that it could very easily replace the tiers. That's not what we specifically promoted with the legislature, but I do believe that the individual budget approach would do exactly what the tiers do, and it would be just as effective and probably more so in terms of providing that financial stability. In essence, under an individual budget, instead of having 4 tiers, you would have 30,000 tiers.
Right.
Each tier crafted based on the unique individual characteristics of that person. And so we feel that that has real potential for the future. Again, it doesn't mean people get everything they want, but it is at least a fair, equitable, predictable, understandable way to fairly allocate what you have.
And it'll allow them to budget and, pick the services that they really believe they would need.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's really, in my opinion, probably the most significant advantage of this, is that it allows the individual, the family member, whoever's making decisions, it truly puts them totally in the driver's seat.
Right.
Not just choice of provider, but also choice of services that make the most difference in their lives. And as I've said a number of times, I believe that for the most part, the world's premier expert on what an individual needs to lead a successful life in the community is that individual, him or herself, or people that care about them.